All right, hey, it's great to be here. Good morning, nice to see you all. I've been looking forward to this. I like it because it's a chance to gather and recognize our federal community. It's also my shortest commute of the year. I appreciate that because I live in Roslyn and it's easier to get here than it is to Tysons. Seriously though, Tysons is not that far away. We've got a big new headquarters. We hope that you will all visit us there. Hey, so as you know, Appian's in the business of designing new applications and then running them, executing them, right? To create the pattern of the work and then to do the work. These are the two halves of Appian's product. And both of those halves, the designing of the work and the doing of the work, are in the midst of profound change this year. So I've kind of split my talk. I'm going to spend half the time talking about the change in the way people design applications, and the other half talking about the change in the way people do the work once they've designed the work. All right? So I'm going to start with the designing. The designing. You've heard of low code probably. If you haven't heard of it, you'll hear of it soon. It's going to be big. Low code is it's a trend in application development to use less code, to do more drawing, more picture drawing, more flowchart drawing, and to use more reusable objects to build your applications. All right, so it's a trend, but it's an inexorable trend that meets the needs of the moment. And so this is a trend that's got legs, and we're going to keep seeing this in the future. It's going to become a primary means of development. In fact, we are, 6 weeks away from a new decade? I have a prediction for the new decade. I predict that for all of us, in all of our organizations, our departments, our agencies, our companies, all of us, the majority of the applications that we write in the coming decade, we're going to write on a low-code platform. That's a long way from what we've done in the last decade, I realize. But that's my prediction, and I'm serious about it. I think low-code is going to be so big that it's going to be the primary means of developing new applications starting next year, right? Or at least across the decade that begins next year. It meets the moment so well, and I'll explain why. Lately, when people ask me what low-code is, I used to talk about how it was faster and flowcharts and objects and so on, but lately I just say it's like developing with a mouse, right? It's like just developing with a mouse. Imagine the things you do with a mouse. You click, you drag, you drop, you position, you do very human communications with a mouse. That's what low code is like. Low code is like expressing yourself in a more human way instead of bringing out the keyboard like you would have if you'd been typing code lines like you used to have to, right? We just shifted the spotlight. The old spotlight was on the keyboard, the new spotlight is on the mouse. And hey, I realize low code isn't perfect, it's not finished, it's not gonna get rid of your keyboard entirely. And we all know that because we all use low code. However, most of the value is now delivered through your mouse rather than through your keyboard. I think that's a profound change right there. Right, that's a move in the right direction. And as you've seen the statistics, low code is 20 times as fast to build the same application as regular code. So I think this new approach, this mouse-led development, this graphical, this diagram-led development, this configuration-led, reusable object-led development is a meaningful and lasting change in the way applications will be deployed and delivered. Here's why it's totally necessary. This is a projection from an analyst firm called IDC about the rate of development of applications in the world. And as you see, for a long time it's been kind of steady, building a little bit, and now it's really going up. Their prediction is that in the next 5 years, we're going to build as many applications, we like the world, we're going to build as many applications as were built in the previous 40 years. Right? So we got an exponential curve of more applications, and you're probably witness to this. I am too. We all see this in our organizations. You've got more demand for building new applications than you've ever had before. I see it. I talk to a lot of CIOs. I talk to people who are in charge of writing these applications. This is a universal concern. How are we going to write all these? In fact, we're going to have to really step it up because we're supposed to be writing for this next 5 years applications at a rate of 5 times as quickly as we did in the previous years. So how are we going to write applications 8 times as quickly? Well, it's obvious, right? We're going to use low code. Low code is 20 times as fast to write an application. We need to write applications 8 times as quickly. I guarantee you can't find 8 times as many developers. We're going to have to find a more efficient way to make our applications, and there's no other solution that can accelerate it like this can accelerate it. That's why I feel so confident making that prediction about the next decade. And I'm not the only one making predictions like this. Here's a quote from a Gartner analyst recently. It says, by 2024, low-code development will be responsible for more than 65% of the application development activity. So they're predicting that's even more dramatic than my prediction. They think it's going to be 2/3 of development, and that's within 5 years. So here's an example, right? This is an example from an Appian customer. We do low code, obviously. We're working with hundreds of companies and organizations to help them accelerate the development of their applications and their workflows. And here's an example, right? OCC in this case is the Options Clearing Corp, not the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, even though they're both Appian customers. It can be a little bit confusing. In this case, it's the Options Clearing Corp, which is a highly regulated fundamental building block in our national financial system. Needless to say, they don't throw anything into production quickly. They say here they built their first application in 6 weeks. Now they're at the point they can build an application in a day, in 1 day. Like roll back the clock a couple years, nobody does that. Nobody did that. You can't build applications in a day. They take a year, right? They used to. They used to take a year. They used to take more than a year to build an application. They're doing it at OCC much faster. They deployed their first 9 mission-critical applications in 18 months, which was already like breaking the sound barrier in a place that has to move so slowly and so deliberately and not disrupt, because they're very regulated to be sure that they don't drop the ball on options transactions. Now they're at the point where they have a program. They even call it the App-a-Day program. And if they want something done, they just start a new App-a-Day program, and they've got it in 1 day. They've got the new application. They've done this many times. That's why they're testifying to it. And they're moving forward. They got 30 applications in production. They're doing more whenever they need another one. This is all on low code. So anyway, low code is the future, right? For all these reasons, these examples, right, the way the demand for applications are changing, low code is definitely the future. But what does it give you? Other than just speed. It's obvious it's going to be fast, but is it better? I think we need to talk about whether it's better, because it's not enough for it merely to be fast. It has to be better. Now, how often do you feel when you log onto an application at the place where you work like you've entered some kind of strange time warp, some kind of wormhole to the past where screens are green and menus are tedious, and it's not just the way the application looks that's out of date, it's the way it works. It's the internal assumptions that it makes. They're assuming that your business works like it did in the past. They're assuming your patterns, that your regulations, that your strategy is of the past. It hasn't changed. It can't change. Maybe it's too expensive or too time-consuming to make this change, and so you're stuck with it. This happens to everybody, every organization. Everyone I talk to says, yes, I can relate to that. I too log into applications that feel like they're out of the past. My question isn't whether that happens, because I know that happens for all of us. The question is, why do we put up with it? Why do we keep accepting that applications can be relics, while any other piece of technology that we buy is expected to conform with assumptions of the present and the future? And yet applications somehow have a free pass, and they're allowed to be totally out of date. It's to the point, actually, where applications are the single most immutable asset an organization is likely to own. You could probably change your building faster than you could change your applications. And you probably have changed your building since you last updated some of these old applications. What are we doing? Why are we putting up with this? You would not put up with it. We're at a different piece of technology, right? Imagine if you bought a radio, but it only played songs from the year it was built, right? You would not put up, if you bought this radio, for example, and you turned it on and all it would play is like Led Zeppelin and the Eagles, you would think, well, why can't I get modern music out of this radio? You wouldn't put up with it if it were a radio, but we do put up with it again and again when it comes to applications. Low code is different. If you build an application on a low-code platform, and by the way, from now on I'm going to talk about the Appian low-code platform instead of just generically. If you build on our low-code platform, it is automatically that application updated every time there's a change. You got a new way of working, we're going to update it. A new standard for security, a new device you want to run it on, a new cloud maybe, you want to move it to the cloud. All of these updates come automatically, right? And if there's anything changes, the application just follows it into the future because the platform makes the application modern. You built the application on a platform, and the platform ensures that it stays modern. This is a fundamental difference between writing an application the old way and writing it on a low-code platform. The low-code platform keeps it up to date, which is super important in a lot of ways. Here's one very obvious way. Devices keep changing, right? If you build an application and a new device comes out, your application generally does not work on that device, or at least it doesn't look good on it. It doesn't run natively, it doesn't use the native architecture of that device. But if you wrote it on a low-code platform, then it does. It does use everything. It is native on the latest applications, and it continues to be devices that you didn't even imagine would exist. At the time you wrote your low-code application, it's going to run natively on those devices when they're invented. That's a major shift. Oh, and by the way, it'll also run offline on those devices. You'll be able to use every form from your application. You'll be able to download tasks and cache them. This is all current Appian functionality right now, and then you can do the cached tasks or fill out the forms while you're offline, and when you get back online, that's automatically uploaded. Can you imagine, by the way, how much work it would be to write that kind of functionality into every application you made? Do you think the OCC guys will want to do that, guys and gals, in one day? They're not going to do that in one day. That would take a really long time to build functionality like that. But on this platform, it's all automatic. Low code isn't just faster, it's better. It's better because you get modernness guaranteed in the platform. Your application will stay up to date because you built it on a platform that sustains it up to date on the latest devices. And by the way, it's not just the latest device and the latest look and feel, it's the latest security standards. As you know, we've got a lot of security standards in the federal space. Appian makes a point of being right on top of them. We're ahead of the curve. We were one of the first companies in the world to get FedRAMP, for example. We're in the first 2 dozen. And so we will be sure that your application written in the past meets today's security standards, also a very important thing. Now, it's commitments to things like that, like security, that make me say that we are a leader in federal low code, specifically federal low code. I mean, we're overall, like globally, a leader in low code. We were the first company to go public as a low code firm, and I think we might have the most revenue in low code or something like that. But specifically federal now, I think we're unusually well suited for this community. We're working today in 42 agencies. And when I say that, I mean with low code, because we only have one product. We do one thing as a company, and it's this low code platform. 42 agencies. 1 million users. I think that's actually an underestimate, but it's a safe one. Our headquarters is local, so we can always meet in person, and we can troubleshoot, and we can get you to success more easily because we're here and we're committed to this community. 100% of our code, of our internal code, is written in the United States. We don't offshore anything. And we were one of the first companies to achieve FedRAMP, and we will continue to be early on future security standards. So we're a good match for this community. You know, one of the things that takes the longest, when you build an application, you know this, is the integrations. If you make a new application and you try to pull data from a bunch of different sources and bring it together, that can slow you down like nothing else in the application building process, which is why we've put particular emphasis on it, and we're especially strong here. We have zero code integrations with most of the major systems that you would probably want to integrate with. All right, you'll see a lot of names here. We try to make this as easy and straightforward as possible. You're just going to integrate with your mouse, right? That's the kind of integration it is. This isn't a coding integration, and it's going to be sustained and upgraded and updated, and it's going to stay good over time. We're going to take that most difficult part out of the application delivery process and simplify it down to the point where it isn't just low code, it's zero code. Now, to drill down on this one level lower, let me talk to you about the most common integration that is done in the entire federal community on Appian, and that is the integration, it's in the lower right here, between Appian and Salesforce. It is typical for a best-of-breed play to bring together Salesforce for CRM and Appian for low code. In fact, I got a slide for it here. There's a lot of reasons to do this, and we find it's extremely popular. Organizations want to use Salesforce, de facto standard in CRM, millions of users and a great partner ecosystem, and they still want to use Appian for low code because you can keep your data where it is instead of moving it, and we're #1 in the world in case management, and we've got an SLA-backed cloud that's very, very solid. So you want to bring these two together? We're going to make it so easy. absolutely no code, and a really deep automatic integration. We introspect Salesforce, we pull back all the information, even custom things, custom menus, any custom thing you put in there, we got that too, and it's all automatic. You'll be integrating with things out of your Salesforce CRM system as easily as if they had been objects in the Appian ecosystem in the first place. An incredibly simple, straightforward, deep, introspective integration. In fact, I'll go so far as to say we're probably deeper and better integrated into Salesforce CRM than most products you could buy from Salesforce. We've taken this really seriously, and it's a clean, fantastic integration. All right, so hey, I said I was going to talk about two things. One of them was the changes in how applications are developed. But that's only half the picture. And in order to make the transition, I've given you a close-up on one node in the Appian workflow. Right? You've probably seen this. If you used the Appian Designer, you've seen this is what a node looks like. And a node has two components. One component is the thing that is going to happen at this moment. And then the other is a picture of who's going to do it. And I wanted to give you that close-up to show you that Appian is a dichotomy. Appian has two primary components, the actions and then the worker. And bring those together and you've got work happening. But you need both halves, and both halves are changing. I talked so far about the way we design work is changing, but also the way we do work is changing. And that's what I want to talk about next. In this case, as is traditional, a human is the one who's designated to do the work. But let me tell you, it's not going to stay that way. It's changing right now. The workforce is becoming blended. Now we're going to delegate not just to humans, but also to bots, RPA, robotic process automation bots, and to artificial intelligence. And so we're going to have to get used to this, because it is the most efficient way to get work done. No longer can we assume, nor would we want to assume, that people are going to do all the work that is to be done. In fact, we want to offload as much as possible from people onto these other factors of work because they are more efficient than we are. Far better that they take a lot of the load off of us so that we can focus on things that are more difficult, more challenging. The traditional way to think about this is we're going to give the regular tasks to the bots and to AI, and the humans will take the exceptions. The humans will take the things that the others cannot solve, and that leaves us a lot of extra time to address our human capabilities to things that a human can do better at. So we take this great flood of tasks, shunt as much as possible of it over to bots and AI, and then humans are left with only a little bit, which frees us up with time to make human connections and make human decisions and do the things that we're uniquely advantaged at. So that's the idea, and let me show you, because it's working already. And this is the ideal here. This next slide is the perfect thing. We are doing this. It's not for a federal client. It's in insurance, actually. But let me explain briefly how this works. This is an organization that gets millions of pages of documents, and I do mean pages, per day. And they need to incorporate all that. It's got to quickly get into the right place, to the databases, to the people who need the information. So they've got an enormous data intake problem. So what do? In the past, it would have been hire more people, have each one of them type in what they've got, documents, right, one after the other. That's not efficient. Here's how they choose to do it now. They're going to give as much as possible of this to RPA bots. In case you're familiar, RPA is like a script that does rote things, but it does them very quickly and far more efficiently than a person would do it. So provided the action is repeatable and predictable, an RPA bot is the most efficient way to do it. So the first thing they want to do is give about 80% of this work to the RPA bots. In fact, they'd love to give 100% to them, but it's not possible because some of those papers aren't even typed or digital. They're handwritten in pen, in cursive, something like that. RPA bots can't figure that out. So we can't give them everything, but we'll give them 80%. Everything that's totally conforming, give it to the bots. Next, of the 20% that remains, a lot of this we're going to send to the artificial intelligence application that can read handwriting. Right? When you write a check these days, a human doesn't read that check. It's written by it has been for a long time actually, by artificial intelligence or some kind of an algorithm. So we're going to send a lot of the handwriting to an AI process, and the AI process can handle most of it. But there's a little bit that even the AI process cannot handle, and that and only that ends up on the desk of real humans. This is exactly the way we'd like to coordinate. They're getting their costs per document down to the very minimum They're freeing up time for humans to do human things. This is perfect. So it's not like this today. Not in most places. We're getting there, but the blended workforce is not an automatic thing, and we haven't all instantly mastered it. Instead, today we're facing some friction, and I believe that Appian has a critical role to play in overcoming that friction. Today, I'd have to say that people and bots, they're not really connecting all that well. We'd love to see better coordination where all the exceptions that the bots can't handle are just naturally handed over to people. Then we've got end-to-end management and we've got end-to-end reporting. That would be fantastic. And if we could balance the loads for efficiency's sake, that'd be very nice. And it would also be terrific if an organization that had bots from more than one vendor, which most of them do at this point, could balance across different vendors' worth of bots and be efficient in the way they used them and maybe even handed work across them and managed the whole blended workforce. This is not yet happening, but it can happen. And I think in the next few years, we're going to see it. Appian's offering a solution today that can do this. We have the Robotic Workforce Manager solution that orchestrates your robotic workforce, even if you have multiple of the leading RPA vendors. UiPath, which is a sponsor here, and you can meet with them at the break. Blue Prism and Automation Anywhere. We integrate with these vendors, and we manage the first two, Blue Prism and UiPath. We manage their bots and orchestrate end-to-end with end-to-end reporting, with work allocation, with efficiency managing, with handing off the exceptions neatly into our Appian's case management system. We've got the blended workforce solution to balance your factors and get work done more quickly, and we're doing it with the leaders in RPA. Now, RPA has been difficult to coordinate with people, but AI is worse. RPA at least has been easy to use. At least you can adopt it, and you may have already. At least you can get some bots going. AI has been deeply challenging. It's been popular for several years to talk about. It's been hard to actually implement. Our challenges in bringing AI to you are even more profound than our challenges in orchestrating and managing RPA for you. But we've done it. And we announced this earlier this year. We have integrated with Google and offered Google AI bundled inside Appian for free to use with several functions, so that it is so simple now for you to use AI at an industrial strength level in order to just to plug it into your application. Right, so we've got Google Vision, for example, that interprets any image that you send, and it's just an Appian node. You can just deploy an Appian node, which is calling Google in the background, but you don't have to worry about this. You don't need a Google account. We take care of it. We'll just tell you what that image is, or we can screen for explicit content, or we do whatever you like. Scanning the image, that's Google Vision. Google Natural Language is where you start with a spoken stream of sounds, and it becomes words. This is obviously really valuable for, let's say, tracking the relationship you've got with a customer or a constituent who calls instead of writes to you. You'd like to be able to digitize what they said. Well, Google Natural Language through Appian is going to do exactly that. And finally, translation from one language to another. These are all offered automatically as Appian functions at this point, calling Google in the background, and it's free, though there is a charge at scale. By the way, that AI, that's supposed to be a combination of the letters A and I for AI and Appian. We took them out of our logo. That's supposed to represent Appian AI. I don't know how clear that is. Here's an example of bringing it all together. We talked about the blended workforce. We talked about the three factors of work, the way people are going to do some work, bots are going to do some work, AI is going to do some work. We have an application right now. You could buy it. The solution that we have written called the Intelligent Contact Center that absolutely brings all these things together, pre-written, and I just wanted to use a screenshot from this to illustrate what it is that we've done. Here is the agent desktop for the contact center, and notice that this agent can have access to RPA scripts, right? They can just launch a task, and that's an RPA process running in the background. They've got an intelligent chatbot which screens and is the first level of engagement with every new contact that's coming through. They've got AI recommendations on what they should say to the customer, to the constituent, and they've got case management all at their fingertips. They've got the blended workforce, and we brought it together. This is a full-fledged app. We've been selling it for some time. It is something that we'd love to talk to you about if you have a contact center. We have put together the blended workforce in a pre-built solution. In summary, this is my last slide of the section. Appian is orchestrating the blended workforce. We've managed across these three factors. We understand that the solution is going to involve these three factors of work, and it's going to have to be orchestrated, so we've done it. We're bringing together the three. I don't believe there's another organization out there that's managing across these three factors like we are, and we'd be delighted to show you or talk to you about it or help you achieve an efficient blended workforce. Now, here's a place where we've achieved some success recently. And I don't want to spend too much time on case studies because I know that a lot of case studies are coming up after me. But I just want to say this is a great example of the kind of efficiency in work that we've achieved. The United States Air Force has done a project you may be familiar with called ConIT, which is a replacement for their contracting apparatus. A replacement not for one application, by the way, but for 7 primary systems and more than 100 auxiliary systems, a total of 109 systems consolidated now down to one Appian system. It's an extraordinary act, actually. And it was done in 9 months, and it's live now, and it's running for 3,000 people in 30 different locations, and it's running better and faster and less paper and more efficient and fewer errors than before. And it's saved already more than $80 million, and it hasn't even been running that long. So this is a terrific example of our new approach to creating efficient systems and saving you money and time and being more efficient across the way all the factors of your work operate. This is a little complex, this slide, and I wasn't going to show it, but my team insisted, so I'm going to try to summarize it for you. We wanted you to know that Appian has a federal acquisition management solution, that what we've done at the Air Force isn't a standalone, it's a solution, and we can bring that solution to you as well. Everybody in this room has acquisition tasks. You may be replacing your acquisition system soon. You may need to be building some new acquisition systems. We want you to know that we've got a complete end-to-end solution for this problem. It's FAR and DFAR compliant. It's DIACAP and FSMA moderate, CIPRNet, and GIG approved. It is in operation, exactly this or a variant on this at several major departments. And it takes you from managing your requirements to solicitation to award to administration. It's truly end-to-end. It's not, it's 109 systems replacement worth, right? It covers the entirety of acquisition. We'd love to talk to you about it. If you have a chance, come on out to our booth. We'll walk you through it. Now with that, that's a lot of features on that slide. And I don't want to leave you with the impression that we're a fiddly tech company with lots of little features. Appian's a tech company, but more importantly, we're a success company. We're here to make things work for you, right? When we write a new feature, it's because we think it's of value to you. And above all, our commitment is a personal commitment that we're going to care as much as you do about your outcomes and your success. That's how we've done it for 20 years. We're celebrating our 20-year anniversary this year. We're proud to have been working with you for all that time. I appreciate very much that we've accomplished some things, but my very favorite things that we've accomplished have to do with the success that we've enjoyed with our partners, with the people in this room. I thank the IDC for saying that Appian customers will break even on their investment in 7 months. They didn't make that up. They talked to you. They spoke about the results that you've been getting from our software and from the partnership that you get with us. And so this means a lot. The other thing that means a lot is being able to work with you for the last year, the last 20 years. It is a great privilege, and I mean that. So thank you. Enjoy the show. Glad you're all here.